want to follow up on a question that you answered for Senator Baker, and that was with regard to the computer update. You said that you've stopped it because of the cost, which, you know, certainly we're very appreciative of you being fiscally responsible. But one of the things that was obvious to me when I came into office 5 years ago was that our cybersecurity systems were in dire need of updating, right? So in my short but eventful tenure here, we've seen security breaches at the Department of Health, the Bureau of Vital Statistics, the Department of Corrections, the Department of Education. You know, this Senate institution had some challenges as well. So with the halting of this computer update, can you tell me what you are doing to assure that you collect a tremendous amount of data and personal information from Pennsylvanians who find themselves in the court system? What are you doing to protect their information?
You're aware of the opinion I just wrote on behalf of the court?
I have to admit that I have not had the opportunity to see your most recent opinion.
And I guess I think it's a terrible problem. I wrote an opinion, and it's published and it's there, on behalf of the majority of the court, that Pennsylvania companies have to take reasonable care of data that they collect by mandate from their employees or face civil liability. Now, it was on preliminary objections, so by no means is there any liability there. But the lower court had thrown the case out, saying that there is no cause of action for a data breach. And under these facts, and the defendant was UPMC, and again, it's not to prejudice them, it could be anybody, it's who brought a lawsuit against whom. We said that there is a cause of action. If you're going to collect employee data, you're not a guarantor of that data, but you have to take reasonable efforts to protect it.
Well, I would say that we probably need to hold ourselves to an even higher standard, because we compel people to provide that information to us as a governmental entity. So what steps are you taking in the court system?
I think it's a good question. I'm interested to hear the answer.
Senator, we take it extraordinarily seriously. I knock on wood and tell you that we have not had any data breaches. And I'm frankly not crazy, nor am I probably able to give you much detail here, to be honest, but I would be happy to give a more detailed report individually or to the committee individually. But we do utilize the services of Carnegie Mellon University to test our systems, to test their vulnerability. We do this routinely throughout the year. We test in just about every way that I have read is reasonable and appropriate. We take it really seriously. We do not want to be a branch of government that has a breach for the people or for our own husbanding of our resources. And I'd be happy to give you a greater detailed report, but I frankly wouldn't want to give you one here, even if I had it in my head.
I very much respect that and would welcome that opportunity as we continue to look at the cybersecurity efforts of the executive and legislative branches. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just one other comment. APRA, not beyond data, beyond employees, our court decides enormously important cases, many times involving private corporations, where if advance notice of what we were going to do came out, it could impact their stock, their stockholders and the like. So I certainly, again, it comes back to the judicial computer system. They operate all that. We sort of take it for granted. But we certainly have an expectation that when we're communicating, when we're voting on cases, that's confidential.
I appreciate that. A question with regard to performance-based budgeting. This year marks a renewed focus on agency performance, with the Independent Fiscal Office developing performance metrics to measure how well agency programs operate. So I'm hoping that you could share with me what efforts are you using to evaluate performance with regard to the court system?
I think one of the tools that we've had, and I think we shared it with the legislature last year, was our study that was done statewide to look at the staffing of our courts of common pleas as well as our magisterial district judges, and our efforts to make sure that the needs were met where they needed to be and where they were trimmed back to the extent they may have needed to be. And that would be one of the steps that we have done.
Well, we certainly would appreciate your continued and sustained efforts.
You know, we're unusual, I guess, as government goes, because all we really do is decide cases at various levels from the MDJ to our court. And so you have no choice, but we don't control our inventory of cases. You have no choice but to decide what comes in. And we are all extraordinarily busy. And I had mentioned in response to another question that under Rule 600, criminal court and criminal court judges will live in fear of missing a deadline, as do district attorneys, because you don't want somebody who's allegedly committed a crime to go free on that technical violation of a rule. Same thing's true of family court. They can't decide a custody case 2 years from now. They can't. They got to get, or somebody not paying their child support. Those cases get in and they get heard. So I think all of our courts are sensitive to the mission that they play within society, and are always pressing for prompt justice under the old cliche that if it's delayed, it's denied.
I couldn't agree with you more, but I most certainly think that being efficient and being effective with the resources that you are given will help assure that that justice is delivered in a timely fashion. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.